We're going to start off with Secretary of the International, Ed Ferris.
Good morning, brothers and sisters.
Good morning.
It's an honor and privilege to be here today on the 91st anniversary of Bloody Thursday. So on behalf of all the titled officers, President Olvera, Vice Presidents Wolf, Whitman, Coast Committeeman Ponce de Leon, Williams, and all our staff at the International, I bring you solidarity greetings and best wishes. 91 years of struggle. It's unbelievable. What a success story this is, and it's great that we're here today to pay homage to those who came before us and paid the ultimate sacrifice. We should never forget what happened just down the street, where men got shot in the back trying to get $1 an hour, trying to get a union hiring hall, try to end the shape-up. And I just think that as bleak as things look like right now in our world right now, with the amount of war, genocide, with ICE raids, with a lack of due process, with the rise of authoritarianism, it's easy to get depressed, it's easy to get, down. But all we need to do is look back to where we've come from to gain strength. That's where I get my motivation, is to know what working class people are capable of if they only have the will and the solidarity. So we need to step up. We need to remember who we are, that we are not helpless, that we've always been a voice for the voiceless, that we need to step up for economic and social justice and environmental justice, because that's who we are. And in the end, that's what we're going to be remembered for. We have an obligation to future generations to make sure that this wonderful union continues and this labor movement continues. So I just want to say thank you all for coming out here and remembering, because there was a time when you couldn't go stand in line and get a job of your choice. You had to shape up and be treated like a dog and have no rights. And how far we've come, but how far we must go. So I know we have a lot of great speakers today. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all that you do. And I want to recognize all the people that put this today together, everybody from Balma, all the volunteers, President Castano, Vice President McCoy, Secretary Vanetta Hamlin, Treasurer David Newton, Trustees Frank Gaskin, Carlos Villanueva, Pensioner Trustee Brian McDonald, the Directors Ed Henderson, Mike Villagiani, Mark King, Andrea Johnson, Joseph Diaz, Kimon Pierce, Stanley Cooper, Ken Green, Norm McLeod, everybody here, thank you for what you do for this union. It's important work. God bless all of you. God bless the ILWU. Thank you.
Right now, we're finna call up the President of Local 10, Demetrius Williams, President Local 10.
Good morning, brothers and sisters.
Good morning.
That's what I'm talking about. It's a great day to be alive. Dock workers in San Francisco Bay Area have a long legacy of activism that stretches back to the middle of the 19th century. Yet there were periods before the 1930s when unionism on the Bay Area docks were weak and non-existent. Like dock work in many ports around the world, non-union waterfront employment in San Francisco Bay Area was often unsafe and brutal. Working conditions with no health benefits. Even when workers could secure employment in the non-union years, hiring was often discriminatory and unsafe conditions. Non-union longshoremen was poorly paid, exploited, and magnetized because of their irregular and tenuous nature of their employment. In 1901, the San Francisco longshoremen participated in a major strike by the City Front Federation, which a coalition of wagon drivers, sailors, ship fitters, and other waterfront workers. The strike began out of the city's Teamsters, who were demanding union recognitions and improvement conditions. The strike had limited success, but the violence by the employers and the police led directly to the creation of a Union Labor Party in San Francisco. Elsewhere along the Pacific Coast, local groups of longshore workers began to form regional alliances. By 1916, the dock workers in major West Coast ports were affiliated nationally with American Federation of Labor International. Longshore Association, better known as the ILA. San Francisco Riggers and Stevedores Union had joined the ILA around 1900. It later left the organization but joined shortly before 1916 at the same time. San Francisco was one of the biggest ports along the West Coast. Members was crucially to the unity of the ILA. It was quite clear in 1916 when the first major coast strike in the Pacific Coast dock workers of 10,000 to 12,000 members shut down the West Coast key ports from Belgium, Washington to San Diego, California, demanding standard coast wages and working conditions in a closed shop, which we will require all employees to be ILA members. The 1916 strike was a bitter and violent. On June 16, 1916, the strike that lasted 2 weeks, led by Louis A. Murray, an ILA member from Oakland, California, was shot and killed by an unarmed guard who was protecting strike breakers. Remember the name strike breakers, brothers and sisters, remember that name. 2 days later, Brother Thomas Olson, another ILA member, was shot in the back on San Francisco dock, immediately died right after. In response to the strike, San Francisco Chambers of Commerce organized a labor order commitment to inflame an anti-union amongst business leaders and the general public. July 17, 1916, in San Francisco, more than 4,000 ILA members negotiated a separate peace with the employers because they were worried about possibly of an open shop campaign aimed at destroying unionism. The San Francisco Longshore really lost that battle in 1916 strike, and the employer started hiring non-union men and women. The ill feelings arose amongst the Longshore, putting them at odds against each other. During the company unionism heydays between 1919 and 1933, the organization was simply known on the waterfront as the Blue Book. Throughout those 14 years without a legitimate union, workers had to pay dues, maintain the Blue Book, corrupt hiring practices, and inhuman working conditions prevailed in the Blue Book era. In San Francisco, longshoremen were forced to stand in a waterfront hiring crowd or shape up early morning to get daily employment. Harry Renton Bridges stood amongst them. The San Francisco Longshore and future union leader vividly recalled the shape up. We were hired off the street like a bunch of sheep, standing there from 6 a.m. in all kinds of weather. To get a job, workers had often had to bribe the hiring bosses with money, alcohol, or other favors. The Port of San Francisco was known for its high productivity, but also known for its extremely high rate number of accidents. At times, bosses used active rivalries to provoke such a competition. The fatigue from long hours of heavy labor with few or no work breaks also contribute to the high accident rate during non-union years. Longshore conditions worsened once the Great Depression hit in 1929. Then in 1933, the U.S. Congress passed the National Industry Recovery Act, known as the NIRA, as part of the President Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal, stipulating that workers had the right to organize and unionize under their own choice. During the 1933-1934, tens of thousands of U.S. workers in a variety of industries across the country struck for union recognition and the right to bargain collectively. Section 7A also galvanized the Longshore of San Francisco, who had grown increasingly restricted because of their harsh working conditions. Under the leadership of Harry Bridges, the Longshore undertook a new organized drive. The challenge of the Blue Book in San Francisco, and they successfully reunited the dock workers coastwise into the old ILA. In October 1933, the Masson Navigation Company fired four San Francisco longshoremen for wearing ILA buttons. In protest, Harry Bridges and his followers shut down most of the waterfront. When the NIRA board acknowledged the existence of the ILA and instructed Masson to reinstate those four longshoremen, the Blue Book was successfully vanished from the docks. Bridges later stated that the resolution of the Masson case reestablished the union on the waterfront. That was the end of the fear and intimidation by bosses and shipping companies. By early 1934, a major coast battle with the ship owners had begun. There was 4 demands: 6 hours of day pay, 30-hour weeks, $1 an hour. Brothers and sisters, we was asking for $1 an hour in 1934. And the Union Hiring Hall. During the strike on the San Francisco waterfront, violence flared on a daily basis, and the ship owners brought in strike breakers. Remember the name strike breakers? The employers were aided by the city's police and several tear gas salesmen who were eager to demonstrate their product. During the strike, Harry Bridges thought outside the box and remembered who the actual strike breakers were, and at least most of them. So Harry Bridges decided to visit the churches in San Francisco's black community. Bridges promised that if the city's African American refrained from strike breaking, the ILA would offer them equal opportunities after the union had won the strike. The old riggers and stevedores had discriminated against black workers, and the employers had enlisted African Americans as strike breakers during the 1919 strike. Bridges knew the history and intended to overcome the errors of the past. By 1934, 2 segregated San Francisco docks were staffed by African Americans, including the 1919 African American strike breakers. Remember the name strike breakers? Bridges and his followers convinced them to join the big strike. Later, Bridges recalled that he told his white members, "Look, fellas, the only way these guys ever got a job was as scabs. The bosses saw to that. Let's write now a way. You got a job as a working stiff, not no discrimination." After the strike, Bridges and the San Francisco Longshore kept their promises that Bridges had made to the black churches. Harry Bridges recognized the winning of the 1934 strike to be successful was to integrate black and white workers together with equal pay and fair conditions. Harry Bridges understood the term, "An injury to one is an injury to all." Today, we commemorate not only a date in history, but a spirit, an unyielding spirit of liberation. You understand perhaps that a liberation is not a moment, it's a movement. A living, breaking call to action, one continues today. Yes, we celebrate, but let's also be honest about work still left to do. Structural racism has not vanished. Inequality has not erased from everyone, and justice still too often depends on who you are and not where you live or the color of your skin. So today, I ask you to look inward, while in our own lives have grown silent in our faith injustice? Where must we stand taller, speak louder, and fight harder? It's in the workplace where we were discriminated, ignoring the safety of compromise. It's in our neighborhood where opportunity are hoarded instead of shared. It's in the politics where fear divides the justice is delayed. Now is the time to recommend ourselves and just remember that we are stronger together than we are against each other. Local 10, brothers and sisters, I want to just let you all know, and our people that's here visiting, we are so much stronger together than we are trying to fight our battles individually. Harry Bridges took on a role himself to say, I'm going to incorporate us all and make us all stronger. I'm going to show the world that we are people and not animals. We're going to take on a role that shows that standing up as a Local 10 member means more than fighting individually, trying to get something that we already know what's going to happen. This year has been a monumental year. June 19 marks the 150-year anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation of the signing of our 16th President of America, Abraham Lincoln, to end slavery in America. 2025 is also the 25th anniversary of the strike in the ILA longshoremen in Charleston, South Carolina, and the unity of the ILA and the ILWU longshoremen who came together in solidarity to win the strike and free 5 longshore that was illegally put in prison for inciting a riot. It is also the 91st anniversary of the 1934 strike that took the lives of 2 of our own fallen brothers. Brothers and sisters, please stand in solidarity for these 2 brothers. Brother Howard Spear and Brother Nicholas Nick Bordoise, and the other 100 longshore brothers and sisters and innocent onlookers that also was injured in the 1934 strike. You can have your seat. We celebrate, but must never forget we are so much stronger together. An injury to one is an injury to all. And if you take care of this union, brothers and sisters, this union will take care of you and your families in solidarity.
The Secretary of Treasury, Local 10, Ed Henderson.
All right, good morning, brothers and sisters. Balmer International local officials. My name is Ed P.I.I.I. Henderson. I am Local 10 Secretary, Treasurer, and proud rank and file member. Before I get started, I'd like to do a little chant. When I say union, you say power. Union! Power! Union! Power! Union! Power! Thank you. Today, the significance of Bloody Thursday lies in commemorating the lives of Howard Sperry and Nicholas Bordeaux, whose lives were cowardly taken and whose blood was shed, ultimately galvanizing the 1934 strike. This movement was led by Harry Bridges, a former immigrant himself who came to the United States in search for a better life and opposed exploitative hiring practices. Bridges fought for a non-controlled union hiring hall that upheld seniority rights, promoted fair wages for an honest day of work, ensured safe working conditions, and advocated for equality. He championed solidarity across races and ethnicities, recruiting black workers and immigrants while pushing for full inclusion within the union. Bridges recognized racial justice as a cornerstone of the labor movement, seeing racial inequality as a tool of capitalism that divided and exploited workers. His efforts established a national precedent for inclusive unionism setting the stage for decades of progress that culminated in the civil rights movement. However, the dream that once filled us with hope has now transformed into a national nightmare. I have never understood how trade union members can support and vote for someone who aims to undermine unions and threaten the hard-earned rights of blue-collar workers. Why do we have members who choose to back a president who stands to dismantle everything that benefits them? My fellow trade unionists, we stand at a crucial crossroads today. We have two options before us. We can either allow this white supremacist in the White House to continue destroying our country, or we can choose to fight back. It is abundantly clear that Congress is failing to do its job, with the Republicans set on making America white again, and my own Democratic Party lacking the backbone to stand up for what is right. The executive and judicial branches appear to be compromised by the president's influence. What they cannot take away from us is our power, because we, the people, hold that power. We do not want to hear complaints when you lose your Medicaid, when you find your SNAP benefits gone, or when you realize that the tax breaks are only benefiting the 1%. We do not want to hear any grievances when you discover that promises of no tax on overtime and tips are not real. If you are excited by Trump's stance against immigrants and his terrorists, then do not voice your dissatisfaction when the consequences unfold. However, I would like to remind you of your sworn oath as a member of the ILWU. I will strive to create a brotherly feeling between the International Longshore and Warehouse Union and organizations which mean to uphold the dignity of labor, support the organized labor movement, and finally, I will not deal in any manner with a person who is an enemy of labor. To this, I pledge my honor. Your allegiance to Donald Trump undermines the significant contributions of Harry Bridges, which paved the way for your involvement with the ILWU. This support aligns with your dedication to J.D. Vance, effectively erasing the legacy of William B. Chester, the first African-American vice president of the International. Supporting individuals like the bleached blonde, bad-built, butch-bodied Marjorie Taylor Greene is equivalent to disregarding the legacies of pioneers such as Maddie Lawson, the first African-American female longshore and crane operator. We must also honor Paula Christie Allen, the first African-American and first female foreman. Jolita Lewis, the first African-American and female title officer of Local 10, who held the position of Secretary-Treasurer. Sheila Risher, the first African-American and female to be promoted to the Lines Board. Vanetta Hamlin, the first African-American female business agent and chief dispatcher. And last but not least, Georgina Capizano, the first African-American female lead trainer and RTG driver at Merck's. While you continue to support Donald Trump, he actively works to diminish not just black history, but also to erase the accomplishments of remarkable figures such as Frederick Douglass, Harry Tubman, Dr. Martin Luther King, George Washington Carver, Rosa Parks, the Kennedy brothers, Ruby Bridges, and many more. Our nation was built on the contributions of immigrants and is founded on the principles of diversity, equality, and inclusion, principles that was also the foundation of the ILWU. In conclusion, I share this thought from principle number 9 of the ILWU 10 guiding principles. A new type of unionism is called for, one that does not confine its ambitions and demands to wages alone. Conditions of work, security of employment, and adequate provision for the workers and their families in the time of need are equal, if not greater, importance than the hourly wage. I believe this message for our young and new upcoming members. It's not just about the money. It's about safeguarding our jobs from the greed of others. Thank you very much.
The president from Balma, John Costanzo.
Good morning, my fellow workers. Good morning, my fellow workers. Good morning. All right. Remind me next time not to follow Brother Ed Henderson. There's not nearly enough coffee in my cupboard to follow that act. So welcome to the 91st commemoration of the Bloody Thursday Memorial, a day commemorating the 1934 West Coast strike took place. Began on May 9th of 1934. Now, I'm a student of history and I love studying the things that have happened in the past to try and understand how we got to where we are today. So put your mindset back in 1934, we're in the midst of the Depression. President Roosevelt signs the New Deal, put people to work. Golden Gate Bridge was under construction. The Hoover Dam was under construction. They had just broken ground over here for the footing for the New Bay Bridge. But things on the waterfront weren't going so swell. The strike was called on May 9th because of the shape up, the dangerous working conditions, the low pay, and the discrimination in hiring on the job. Strikebreakers, like President Demetrius had just mentioned a few times, they began rolling in and fights ensued on July the 3rd. There was a pause on July the 4th for the holiday. Then July 5th, a train of strikebreakers attempted to come to the Matson terminal down here in the Embarcadero. Fights broke out. Longshoremen grabbed 2x4s, bricks, whatever they can get their hands on. The police were called out. Then the state of California brought in the National Guard and federal troops came in. That afternoon, the tear gas was fired. Bullets were fired. And at the end of the day, our two maritime brothers, Howard Sperry and Nicholas Bordoise, were shot dead. Some days later, this led to a mass funeral march that took place on Market Street that by some estimates included 40,000 workers who stood and marched in perfect silence. By July 16th, a general strike was called in the city of San Francisco. 150,000 people refused to go to work. It was the first time in the city's history that a general strike had been called successfully. So what did that lead to? For the longshoremen of the ILWU Local 110, the Pacific Coast District, it led to an arbitration award that included a union-run dispatch hall where the work would be dispatched by those elected from the rank and file, one coast-wise agreement where the employers could not pit one port against the other for wages, manning, and other work conditions, an arbitration system set up that would be run by those from the longshoring industry who understood the industry, and a raise of the 95 cents per hour for straight time and time and a half for overtime. This arbitration award was historic because it paved the way for the National Labor Relations Act of 1935 that President Roosevelt signed that made it easier for those who wanted to join a union to do so. Now, in my time, I've been fortunate enough, in September, I'll be starting my 40th year here as a member of Local 10. And I've had the pleasure of meeting some people that were actually in the strike. Sam Cagle, who at the time represented labor unions for the Pacific Coast Labor Bureau, was on the strike steering committee and became a good friend of Harry Bridges. In 2004, we invited Sam Cagle to come here and speak at Bloody Thursday. He was in the Ferry building with Harry Bridges at lunchtime when the shooting began, and he remembers the tear gas, the guys were shot when they brought him to the ILA hall. Hearing someone tell the story firsthand was very compelling. I had the chance to work with a gang boss by the name of Dave Reed. Some of you may remember Dave Reed. When I started in 1986, Dave Reed was the oldest longshoreman that was still working on the West Coast, and he was in the 34 strike. He was a gang boss, and he had some really great stories as well as to what was going on at that time. We'd hear other people tell stories. George Cobb, who was a dear friend of mine, told a great story about an old-timer he worked with in the hold. So they're working in the hatch, the gang, and there's this old-timer, he's sitting on this pile of pallet boards drinking whiskey. And George goes to the gang boss, says, how come that guy gets a drink all day and we got to do all this work? So the gang boss calls Ike, says, hey, Ike, come over here. Ike goes over to George and the other guys. He says, unzip your coveralls. He unzips his coveralls, pulls up his shirt, and reveals a scar that went from his shoulder across his belly all the way down to his hip. He had been bayoneted in the 34th strike and left for dead on Sperry Street. He survived. And that gang boss said, this man put his life on the line so that you can have what you have today. He will never have to work a day in his life anytime he works in this gang. Don't you forget what he did for you. So just as that story goes, I would ask each and every one of you, brothers and sisters, and I'll include myself in there, let us not forget the sacrifices of those who came before us. Let us remember today with conviction, with confidence, that we appreciate what was done so many years ago, that we're thankful for what we have. Some people that are here today that I would like to recognize that helped make this day go. My fellow officers from Balma, our trustees and directors. We have Robin Walker, our librarian and archivist. Robin, thank you for bringing that beautiful display here inside the dispatch hall. We have former ILWU International President Brian McWilliams here. It's always great to see Brian. Brian, thank you for being here. We have with us Brother Derek Mohammed, who's very close to becoming the Port Commissioner over there in the Port of Oakland. Good to see you, Brother Derek. I'd like to thank the many volunteers who helped make this day go. You're probably too many to name, but you know who you are. Thank you very much for being here. There are 2 volunteers that come here every year from Local 29 in San Diego. They travel up here on their own dime, and they volunteer every single year. Alex Fernandez and your mom, Tammy, thank you guys. Every year you guys are here. They come all the way here from San Diego to help volunteer. Thank you both for what you do. Thank you. We have Brother Ramon Landero from the Nicaraguan Dock Workers Union. He's here with his family. Thank you for being here, Brother Ramon. Lastly, I want to recognize my brothers and sisters from the Sailors Union of the Pacific, the MFOW, the IBU, the SIU. Thank you all. This is all part of maritime history. This is not just Longshore history. This is maritime history. So it includes all of us. Thank all of you. God bless you all, and God bless the ILWU. Thank you.
Now I'm going to bring up the Vice President of the Balma, Trevor McCoy.
To the officers, members, and friends, good afternoon or good morning, brothers and sisters. Good morning. How are you? Glad to see all these beautiful faces. By the way, my name again is Brother Trevor McCoy. I'm your Vice President for Balma. I know we just heard all of these beautiful dynamic speeches, so I'm going to be very brief. I'm just going to give you some recaps, and hopefully we'll get something out of it. Bloody Thursday. Bloody Thursday revolved for a fight, and that fight is for democracy. We all realize that democracy is slipping away. You just heard on the news recently, the big budget, $20 million for Medicare. That's sad, and we work very hard for our medical. Social justice awareness. Keep in mind, George Floyd, Leo Robertson, who anticipated the push for the apartheid for Africa. We refused to work on any ships that came across from Africa. And we proved the point to allow Nelson Mandela to be free. We played a big part of that, the ILWU. Also keep in mind General Josh, who anticipated for the anti-war during the Vietnam War. The United Farm Workers, we supported them as well. The co-op miners that worked for King Coles in Utah, that was in 2004. We also should keep in mind, we should stand like Senator John Lewis. We have to look for good trouble, because it is the time now to move forward to fight for what we already have. We want to trust and understand what's going on right now across the world, not just only here in the United States, but across the world, because that's who we affect. It's a global world effect. So whatever affects the world, it affects us. Also, keep in mind we should have better education. And also, if anything, is our medical care for mental health, more than anything, since we had the COVID for the last 2 or 3 years. It made a major change on the mind of thinking now. As we always say in our slogan is, one injury to one is one injury to all. My fellow co-workers, when you're on the dock, or driving on the freeway, or working side by side with your brothers, or operating a top pick or a side pick or the crane, keep that in mind, that slogan, one injury to one is one injury to all. Think about it. Think about it. Thank you, brothers and sisters, officers. May God bless you and keep you all, and enjoy yourselves.
We've got the treasurer of Burma, David Newton.
All power to the people. I'd like us to stand and give a moment of silence for one of our champions and heroes that recently fell, Brother Lawrence Tebow. We'll never forget our fallen brothers and sisters here on this waterfront. I have to pay homage to Brother John Castano, our president of Burma, who's also the benefit specialist and does a phenomenal job in that office. Angelique is a working machine. B. Sugar Hamlin and Vice President McCoy, all the trustees, Brother Carlos, my dear brother and chief dispatcher, and all of the other trustees, Big Brother Gaskin over there, Dave Gonzalez, President of Local 34. I want to say thank you to our Secretary of Treasurer, Ed Henderson, because you got up here, brother, and you told the truth. I have to give a special thank you to Brother Mike Villagente, who was a treasurer for 25 years. And when I took this position, we ran. I didn't really know what to expect, and he had to train me. I didn't know what to expect in the training either. So what I asked Brother Mike Villagente, I know he's stomped down Union man, and he's here, he can tell this just what the conversation was. I said, I don't know what to expect here. I don't think it's fun to train the younger replacement. But if you are a union man and you love unionism, as I think you do, you'll train me. And he said, you know what, brother, I got you. I'm going to show you everything. And that's what he did. Thank you. We represent 2 unions here, for me. We are the ILWU, founded in 1934, and I also represent a previous union as a legacy, the Black Panther Party. Where those spirits intertwine in the hiring of the 60s, a lot of the Panthers were Longshore people. If you go back to 1934, Harry Bridges hires one black man, one white man. Black being any color, white is white. If one man can have a job, the next one can. That's the spirit of the Panther. That's the spirit of the United Farm Workers. My number is 101386. When I came in here, I was myself, and then I became a team of brothers and sisters that some look like me and some don't. My best friends are of Asian descent, Latin descent, white descent. That's what unionism is. One thing that's being lost here is our culture. People come, go to work because we don't have the education or we don't have the accountability of stamps anymore. We talk about this, we can hold somebody accountable in elevation. We don't do that anymore, and some of our ways are lost. When I came in as a casual, Brother Reggie Ross died on the ship. It got real for me that day. Now it's a terminal. People think they go make money there. That brother passed away. We won't let him go. The ILA issued a statement supporting Donald Trump bombing of Iran. It reminded me of when I went to my family's hometown outside of Monroe, Louisiana, called Bastrop, and it looked like a hole in the ground. And my dad reminded me that his father said, "This is why I left here. This is why we became the ILWU, because of statements like that." We don't have that mindset here. The true power, what we know, is in the workforce. I also have to show a special shout out to my brother who was recently appointed as a port commissioner, Brother Derek Muhammad, who gave his life to public service and continues to do so. Brother, you earned that seat. We fought for that seat. We need that seat. This is the only port in the West Coast, major port, that didn't have maritime representation. This brother is the first ILWU member to have that seat. We fought for that. These brothers on this ground died for that. And that's what it is. We have a lot to say. I won't hold everybody because it's been a long time. But I would like to say these elected people are your voice. We are nothing without this rank and file. As Leo Robinson once said, this is a bottom-up union. Die-hard soldiers been fighting nonstop, like who's coming to speak. Brother Clarence Thomas, Jack Heyman is here. All the former presidents. Richard Meade, like him or don't like him, he puts a newspaper out every week out of passion. That's what unionism is. We are diverse. We represent many factions of life. I don't have to like you, I love you. We will die on this ship or we will walk off together. We need to keep that mindset, because an injury to one is truly an injury to all. All power to the people. Thank you.
Go to the Secretary of Obama, Vanetta Hamlin.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I don't have a lot to say this morning. A lot of us got up here and spoke and gave you the history of 1934 and why we're here. But I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who took the time to come out today. It should be more of us, because we all can't do it all on our own. This event and memorial was done collectively by a bunch of us together as officers. Obama, Mike, I'm glad to see you here. Mike's been the treasurer for 25 years and been keeping this going for the last 25 years. He's a union man and always showed that he's a union man. We're not going to be here forever. Some of us is going to be retiring, like some have retired before us. So we need our members to step up and start taking these positions and leading the way, because we're not going to be here forever. I was asked today, who is coming after me? There are quite a few of us sisters who are standing up. They're not in the ranks yet, but they are there. Sisters, I want to plead to you. Take your place. Stand up for what's right, because these brothers right here that lay in front of us, that's what they did. They took that step and they stood up for what was right. And we're still fighting right now today. And we're going to continue on fighting. Some of our officers got up and they talk about power. Each and every one of us have power. We can't do it individually. We got to do it collectively and stand together. One to another, hip to hip, arm to arm. The fight is continuing and is much stronger. And it's always going to be a fight. But if we come together as one, when I say one, when you make a fist, that strikes a big blow, don't it? Because if you just do this, or point and do this, you can't do anything with a finger, but you can do a lot with a fist. So remember that, come together, fight, 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 and continue on so we can have what we have today. And the only way we're gonna keep what we have today, we gotta fight. Keep up with the power and keep fighting. Thank you.
Now, we've got a guy here from, a president from Local 91, Adrian Laurie.
I don't have much to say. It's all been said already by those before me. I'm humbled to be here amongst my co-workers that I came up in the rank and file with. Those with me, those before me. Frank, I see you over there. Gigi, I see you hiding over there in the corner. Come a long way. Long way. From a casual, got here and saw the big ships and the containers, and I just want to go to work. How I got here, I don't even know. I just went to work. But I love this union. I respect this union, top to bottom. Those who sacrificed for us to get here, and those who fight right now along with me to keep what we have and go further. So I just appreciate being able to be a part of this, and I feel good being here. I'm just one of y'all. Local 10 for life. All right? Y'all have a good day.
Now, we've got somebody that's been a president for Local 10. Now he's president for Local 34, Dave Gonzalez.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody's mentioned a lot of different people, but nobody mentioned my cousin, one of only two people in my family, Frankie, on the waterfront before me. Thanks for being here. Something that was said a while ago about whether you like people or not, whether you do things different, you have different beliefs or different ideals on stuff. Sometimes it's hard to recognize where you may have been wrong, but I got to recognize Jack Heyman. Nobody's talking about him, and part of the reason I had problems was it was always, fuck them, we'll shut down the port. That's what he always wanted to do, and I wanted to feed my kids, but you can't feed your kids if you don't have the power that we have. He wanted to shut down for about the war before, and we were at caucus, and it wasn't going well for Jack's resolution. And I asked everybody in the room who was a veteran to stand up or raise your hand. And everybody who had a kid in the military to stand up or raise your hand. And his resolution passed. And I just want to give him props on that. I stopped a couple days ago. Well, last week I was in South Carolina also. I got to tell you what. Obviously, I'm not black. If I was, we'd still be fighting. Because the shit I seen in that museum that this country has done to a whole race of people. Jewish people obviously had it very bad in the Holocaust and lost, 6 million people. It's a horrible, horrible thing. They didn't lose their culture. They know where their families came from. Black people don't have that advantage. Public speaking obviously gets me because I get emotional. I speak about things that mean something to me. And I had to call Newt when I was out there because his uncle, Huey, one of the founders of the Black Panthers, is up on the wall. 3 or 4 pictures. Angela Davis, who came to one of our own rallies a couple of years ago is also there. That stuff needs to be recognized. It needs to be magnified. People need to understand the struggles that people have gone through in their life. And if you don't think it can happen to you, Trump is showing us right now. Going after Haitians the way he's been coming after my own race. Everybody who's black in here, you better deny being Haitian, because that motherfucker's coming for you. It is such a sad state. Last year I asked, because the bombing was going on in Gaza, I asked, if you ever wonder what you were going to do or what you would have done during the Holocaust, you don't have to wonder anymore, because you're doing it now. It's happening right now. They are obliterating the people in Gaza. They move them out, then they tell them, okay, it's safe to come back, and they bomb them again, indiscriminately. One of our little cousins has been arrested at least twice for protests, Savannah, all right? My little goddaughter's getting arrested for protesting this stuff. I don't know at what point, not as a union, but at what point as a people do we all come together? Because you have a right to bear arms. And if they come for my kids, you probably ain't gonna see me no more. We have to stand up for the things that really mean something. We can fight for our jobs, our conditions, and all the rest of it, and we have to. But there is a bigger plan for you, and Trump doesn't give a damn about you. And these elected officials, Republican or Democrat, are showing you they don't give a damn about you. We have to stop paying attention to what ticket they're on, but we need to know what bus they're riding. And if they're not with us, they're against us. If they say they don't have the votes to win, it's because we don't have their vote. I only have a couple bullet points that I wanted to speak on. I want to thank those, obviously, who laid their lives for us, not just in this port, but up and down the coast. I want to memorialize people that we've lost on the job. In LA, they have a celebration called, I don't know if it's First Thursdays or First Blood, but people that have died on the job, and they recognize it. And we've lost quite a few. LA lost a brother on a ship the other night to a heart attack. That needs to be recognized. Return to the past in so many ways is what the union needs to do, because unionism obviously is dying in this country. People are saying, oh, it's the next thing that's going to come up, and people are going to return to being united on the workforce. We need to be united in our port first. We need to come together. Our country, however crazy it may sound, at the moment is still the greatest country in the world. But if you don't think that freight train is coming at us, you need to wake up. We erode our own conditions. It's not a new concept to think that that's what's happening, but it's what we do. We need to take pride in what we're doing. I was sitting the other night with the guys from South Carolina at dinner, and they were talking about how they get their tips on the cruise ships. I've done it. Most of the people from Local 10 have done it at one point or another. When you treat the passengers so disrespectful, you're disrespecting your union. You're making a good wage before you get there. I used to get guys mad because I'd show up, I don't know if anybody remembers, I'd show up and I'd say, free porter here. And I'd tell people, I don't want your tip. I'm making a good wage. Oh, well, that guy said I had to tip him $20 a bag. Stop it. You're burning guys on bags, you're burning guys on breaks, on the job. It is not worth it. Not only it's not what you're not supposed to do, it's not worth it. Because then people remember you always for that. They talk about people that retired. There's a couple guys that recently retired that I remember they tried to get me on breaks. Before we even started, go to break now, come back at 9 o'clock, you're done for the day. Don't do it. I almost got in a couple of fights. I would not go for that. Don't go for it. Be the bigger person. Step up and represent, because you're representing your family. You talk about your family means everything. Stop showing your ass. And Mike, I want to thank you. 25 years, Balma is still as strong as it is, and you are one of the absolute main reasons. Ed Ferris, thank you. You've come up through the ranks. Mechanic, killing it on the cranes. Been business agent here, secretary treasurer here, business agent here, president here, representing every single one of you, getting us out of that many $million-dollar mess. He's a big part of that. Yep. Thank you, Ed. Yep. And your lovely wife, Suzanne. Anyways, I've gone on too long. I love you. I love this union. Please take care of each other. God bless you, and God bless the ILWU.
Recognize David Phillips, Dale Phillips, one of the trainers from Los Angeles. And also we've got some trainers here, tractor trainers and stuff like that. Let's give them a hand too. And also I see Marina. Thanks a lot for Marina's help for the upcoming event for Lawrence Tebow. We have 2 unscheduled speakers here. They on here, but they're not on my list. Call up Clarence Thomas, Brother Clarence Thomas.
Peace and solidarity, sisters and brothers, siblings and others, dignitaries, officers, friends, and I know there must be some enemies in the audience as well. Let's not kid ourselves. I am so grateful to be here because this is the 91st commemoration of Bloody Thursday, I do believe. And each one, we are losing more and more freedom fighters. Brother Lawrence Tebow. I've learned more about Lawrence Tebow since he's passed away than when he was alive. You're talking about a private brother, a freedom fighter. If anything that you young people, and I just want to say one thing. There should be more young people here today. And I'm just so grateful that Steve Zeltzer from the Labor Video Project is here to video and make this video possible for those who are not here today to be seen. You know, when we think about Bloody Thursday, we cannot forget the heroic struggle of working class men and what they had to face. They had to face the state. They had to face I got to be careful of this, vigilantes. They had to face members of the Klan, the police on horseback, tear gas. So while we here commemorating the loss of life of Brother Howard Sperry and Nick Bordoise, we cannot lose sight of the lessons that the old timers, the men whose shoulders we stand on. There's been a long line of some bad, you know what's coming out of this organization. A whole lot of them. A whole lot of them. Some are still alive today, and I'm glad to see Brother Jack Heyman and others who have been involved in so many struggles and really exemplifying what it means to have black and white solidarity on the waterfront. Right. 1934 should have taught us how marine workers and dock workers striking together and Teamsters honoring their picket lines through worker solidarity shut down the West Coast ports. How the workers overcame the employer's ability to use race and nationality and craft to play workers off against each other. I'm gonna repeat it again. How workers overcame the employer's ability to use race, nationality, and craft to play workers off against each other because it was structural racism, which was the hierarchical driving force behind the shape-up. One did not have to be a person of color to be discriminated during the shape-up. That should remind us all that discrimination is not about color alone. That's why having worker control of the hiring hall was absolutely necessary to end this system of making workers beggars for jobs. Let me explain something to you. We talk about discrimination. First thing we think about is blacks, white people of color. You don't think about things such as ideology, being blacklisted, red-baited because of your politics, what country you come from, having people to say to you, because you come from a Muslim country and you represent progressive ideas, that you should be deported. This is what time we live in there now, sisters and brothers. We should learn that the strikers were involved in a class struggle during the strike. The employers had their own well-financed organizations, major businesses, including manufacturing, retail, transportation, and most importantly, the media, because they had the media baron. We all know who he is, William Randolph Hearst. He was a part of that group. The employers had amassed a war chest of $5 million. They thought the idea of having a worker-controlled hiring hall was part of a Bolshevik agenda. For those of you who don't know what a Bolshevik agenda is, it's talking about the Soviet Union and the communists. Because see, anything that concerns our own freedom, our own well-being, it has to be communist. Longshore workers taught us in order to have rank and file unity, you must first have black and white unity. Please raise your hands if you are familiar with an ILWU member by the name of Lynn Greer. Raise your hands. I figured you would know, Robin. Lynn Greer was an African-American longshoreman who started working on the docks in 1919. There's an article about him written by a guy by the name of Andrew Klein. But this is what you should know about him. We know about Harry Bridges and C.L. Dellums going to the black churches, but we don't know about Lynn Greer going. He was exercising his rank and file democracy by going to the black churches in what I call labor in the pulpit. You know, that's where the ministers speak. And he went and he talked to black congregations and encouraged them not to cross the picket line and to join the union. And it didn't stop there. He was in the Fillmore and other black communities day and night preaching the same thing. He's an unsung hero, like so many, many others who have contributed in making this union great. "1934 should have taught us that white supremacy and racism undermines rank and file unity, working class democracy and power." I'm going to repeat it again. White supremacy and racism undermines rank and file unity, working class democracy. I'm not talking about bourgeois democracy. We're looking at bourgeois democracy right now, where Democrats and Republicans have the same interest. These are lessons that young people who belong to the ILWU are going to have to use and be prepared to protect their rights and survival as a class. We need our own party. We need a workers' party. The unions have a major role to play in this. Let's not get it twisted. Organized labor is the most organized sector of the working class. They've got money. They've got resources. They got organizations. The problem is that they're wed to the Democratic Party. And that is going to have to cease. I want to thank you for your attention. And the only thing that I would ask in conclusion is that you join me in saying, an injury to one is an injury to all 2 times. An injury to one is an injury to all. An injury to one is an injury to all. Thank you very much.
I want to tell you that Brother Dixon just turned 106 years old. And he wanted to wish everyone a happy Bloody Thursday. Jack Heyman is our next speaker.
Thank you, Norm. I want to follow up on what Brother Dave Gonzalez had to say and congratulate him on saying it, because we haven't been the best of friends. But the point he's making is we all have to come together now, because we got a big fight ahead of us. It's what Clarence, in his last conversation with Lawrence Thibault, said, the big fight now is against fascism. Thank you, Dave, because what happened then at that caucus was, it was a resolution that I introduced to Local 10. So when it hit the deck at the caucus, it was a Local 10 resolution. And Dave's right. He got up, and when he hit the mic, he said, will all of you who were in the Vietnam War raise your hand? And those people that raised their hand got up and spoke in favor of shutting down all the ports on the West Coast to stop the imperialist wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And although the leadership didn't want to see that happen, it was clear that the overwhelming support was from people who had actually fought, our members who had fought in these imperialist wars. So Guess who was the one? Dave, you may not remember this. The person that put that resolution on the deck at the caucus was Lawrence Tebow. Lawrence Tebow did that. And the second speaker to get up and speak in support of that resolution was the guy who just spoke before me, Clarence Thomas. There's something about this story because every time there's been a militant action on this coast, it's come from right here, Local 10. We're the ones that spark the actions off. And I can recall several of them. One was political prisoner Mumia Abu-Jamal. He was in prison on death row. And in 1999, we shut down every port on the West Coast to free him. And we didn't free him, but we got him off of death row. And unfortunately, he's still on general population, but as he calls it, it's slow death row. So his case was important because we've been talking about Sperry and Bordoise who got killed, but what wasn't explicitly said is, you can read the mural here. It says, police murder, police murder. They were shot in the back by cops. That's what provoked the general strike. It wasn't they just died. They got shot in the back, and it provoked a tremendous anger. And that's what led to the general strike. And that's why Mumia Abu-Jamal was in prison. We shut down the whole coast when George Floyd was murdered by the Minneapolis police. That came from Local 10. The whole coast was shut down. We had a march from the port in Oakland, 20,000 strong, to City Hall, or what we call Oscar Grant Plaza, to protest the murder of George Floyd. So what I wanted to also mention is that there was an important conference this last week that a number of our delegates from Local 10 went to. The President, Demetrius Williams, Secretary Treasurer Ed Henderson, and Vince Washington. Dave Gonzalez went for 34, and Brother Ed Ferris went for the title officers, along with Bobby Gonzalez, who, by the way, originally was a Local 10 member when he came down to the waterfront. Didn't I say? What did I say? So, anyway, we had an important meeting in the executive board around the question of Charleston longshoremen. There was a big photograph in the New York Times of police attacking black and white longshoremen together. I was sitting down at breakfast with my wife, and I said, wow, this is really important. We need to do something about it. And we had an executive board that evening. I took the photograph down, made a report on what's happening in Charleston, and the local executive board voted to send Lawrence Tebow, who was president of the local then, and me. The Charleston Longshore struggle was made possible because of Lawrence Tebow. And this is how it happened. We went to Charleston. The day before this picket where the police attacked, there was a mass demonstration in the capital of Columbia. It was a demonstration against them flying the Confederate flag from the Capitol. That's the flag of slavery. 50,000 people marched in Columbia against that flag to bring it down. What happened next was interesting because the longshoremen in the port of Charleston were picketing against a scab company that had taken away their work. It's a right-to-work state. 150 of them. So the same riot police that were brought to the Capitol to control the protesters, 50,000 strong, the next day came to Charleston. 600 riot police against the 150 black and white longshoremen picketing. And they beat the hell out of them. What they had, the police forces were helicopters, attack dogs, concussion grenades. I don't want to go through the whole tanks. Lawrence and I saw that. We saw the brutality that the state of South Carolina was imposing on the strikers. Lawrence immediately got on the phone and he called the president and vice president. That was Jim Spinoza and Bob McElrath. And he said, I want to bring the president of the Charleston Longshore Union to the next caucus. And they said, that's internal ILA business. We don't want to get involved in that. He says, no, this is too important. It's too important. I'm bringing him to the caucus. He defied the leadership, and he brought them to the caucus, and overwhelmingly, the caucus voted to support the Charleston longshoremen. It started right here in Local 10. We took it to the caucus. Kenny spoke to the caucus. We got the caucus on board. That's every port on the West Coast. And then we got the convention on board. Then we went to get the Cal Fed. That's the AFL-CIO for the whole state of California on board. Then we went and got the national AFL-CIO on board. And the problem was from the very beginning, from the get-go, their own leadership in New York, John Bowers, would not support it. He said it was an illegal strike, and we can't support them. But while he was undermining and blocking any kind of support, the ILWU was going full steam ahead, organizing international support. So right off the bat, we organized out of the Liverpool dockers struggle, which was defeated, but it was an international struggle. We formed a new organization called the International Dock Workers Council. Brother Ed Ferris represents us on that council. And because the Liverpool dockers brought together the most militant dock worker unions in the country. And I met the head of the Spanish dock workers. So the Liverpool dock workers said to me, by the way, Jack, this is after their strike was actually defeated. They said, by the way, that scab ship that just got loaded in Charleston is going over to Valencia, Spain. Well, the head of the dock workers union in Spain, La Coordinadora, was Julian Garcia. And I emailed Julian, I said, if you want the ILWU to join the IDC, then you're going to have to show us the difference between the conservative International Transport Workers Federation and the new International Dock Workers Council. And when that ship hit the dock, Julian Garcia went up the gangway and he told the captain, we will not work this ship, which is loaded by scabs. It's unsafe. Unsafe. Within 48 hours, the Charleston longshoremen had a contract with the Nordana Lines. That's what international labor solidarity is about. Lawrence was at the head of that whole movement. If he hadn't insisted on Ken Riley coming to our caucus, this whole thing would never have transpired. That's what Lawrence Thibault was made of. I just want to finish by saying, I think Clarence, in one of his last conversations with Tebow, as I said earlier, Tebow said we got bigger fish to fry than what's going on right now. He said fascism is on the agenda. The fact of the matter is, and a number of speakers have spoken to this already, we can't count on the Democrats or the Republicans to represent us. What we need to do is organize, build a workers' party. A workers' party that's going to lead us, mobilize us in actions like shutting down the whole coast against the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, shutting down the coast for George Floyd, shutting down the coast for Mumia Abu-Jamal. Now, with the way ICE is operating in this country like a fascist goon squad, we've got to shut down the coast to stop this kind of fascistic tactics that's happening right now. We have the power to do it. We've got to use that muscle. All power to the working class.
I want to introduce you to Brother Pete Daly. He was our president, Local 10, for a number of years. And I just wanted to say we ought to kind of say hi to him and everything.
I'm going to be short and sweet. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. It means a lot. I get a little emotional up here. I miss Brother Tebow. When I came on the waterfront, I believe he was the president, I believe it was, 30 years ago. So I just want to honor him and say thank you for everybody for coming out, and have a good day.
Now I want to call up Sabrina. She's the dispatcher and drill team person. I'm telling you, she does it all.
I would say grand rising, but it's afternoon now. They put me last. Isn't that something? Anyways, I am very humbled, grateful to be a part of such a phenomenal union. I am so thankful and grateful to all of the old timers for all the sacrifices, blood shed, everything. A lot of us do not appreciate what we have. A birth paid for in blood. The shape up, countless worked hours, unsafe work conditions, inadequate treatment, wages, the employer's inhumanity toward dock workers, the blacklisted, denied work for reporting any injuries, and no legal standing of union existence. A birth paid for in blood. The formation of the ILA was founded in 1892. Years to follow, on May 9th, 1934, the shutdown of the West Coast began a birthing process of the ILWU, a birth paid for in blood. Harry Bridges, a sent gift from God, led the ILWU, which formulated from the July 5th, 1934 strike, where the police injured 85 people and killed 2 strike supporters, in which we've already mentioned. A birthplace paid for in blood. Harry's tenacious ability to create unionism inspired many to unite, educate, protect what we have today, a union. A birth paid for in blood. Precious life was sacrificed from our old timers for the generations behind, which is us, to reciprocate. A birth paid for in blood. Future. Our past has a history to embrace, for it helps us understand today. This union has stood in and out of past depressions, recessions, numerous strikes, in unity, together as one. A birth paid for in blood. Preparation to protect our union is necessary. The attack on the ILWU, the countless attacks, especially the one in 2002, we'll never forget. The 11-day lockout, arranged by the employers, was an invitation to a birthing process, a birth paid for in blood. To all full, partial registered members and to the potential new partial, members, let's respect what our old timers fought for, seniority. One can't require what one isn't willing to give. The birth paid for in blood. This birthing process requires a swift, militant movement from all brothers and sisters and any time from all locals releasing petty mistakes and merging together without boots on the ground, prepared to ward off any adversary that attempts to steal the fruits of our labor built from our old timers, a birth paid for in blood. The ILWU shall not be defeated nor destructions on our watch. Enough said. Thank you.
Yes, speaker of the day, she's got two proud parents in the audience waiting for her to come up and give us a little poetry here. So,
Grandmother too.
Grandmother too. So, okay. So, come on, Mrs. Burns. Come. I won't mess up your first name. Just come on up here, Nairobi.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Nairobi Willis Barnes, and I am here for two reasons today. The first is to be a representation of what the union does for families, such as my own, because my mother is a part of the Local 34. She's a Local 34 member of the ILWU, and she is the reason I stand here today as the 2023 Oakland Youth Poet Laureate. See, if it wasn't for my mother working so hard for over 20 years on the port, I wouldn't have the luxury of being a college student, a poet, or an activist. So I thank each and every one of you today for all of your hard work, for showing up for your community, and I thank my mother for allowing me to be here on stage. And the second reason I am here is to read an original poem I wrote for the memorial. So without further ado, I present to you Bloody Thursday. Brothers and sisters, do you hear the horns in the harbor? Do you feel the rumble in the rails, the cry in the crane? There was a time when they told us to carry the weight, but not the power, to bleed for the profit, but never touch the throne. Brothers and sisters, the docks remember. The waters recall the names. Bloody Thursday, 1934, when the hands that built this nation stood still in defiance. Not in weakness, no, but in will. Brothers and sisters, let me tell you about July 5th. When bullets rang out like betrayal in the wind, let me tell you about fallen brothers. Struck down, not for violence, but for daring to dream of something just. Their blood stained the streets so we could walk free with dignity. Brothers and sisters, this wasn't a riot, this was a rising. This was labor shouting back, we are not your machines, we are men, we are women, we are more. Brothers and sisters, can I get a witness? Yes. A witness to pain, yes, but also to power. To the hands that fed ships and stitched sails, that dug in, locked arms, and said, we will not move until you see us. We remember Bloody Thursday. Not for defeat, but for the victory that came after, for the general strike that shut down a city with nothing but solidarity and the sound of boots refusing to march alone. Brothers and sisters, this is sacred history. And the pulpit isn't just in the church. It's in the union hall. It's in the break room, on the picket line. It's in the mother feeding 3 children on 1 paycheck. It is in the old man whose back gave out to finish the job. Brothers and sisters, we are not just workers. We are the ones who make the world move, and we can make it stop if we stand still. Can I preach a little longer, brothers and sisters? They will try to divide us. Black against white, young against old, dock worker against teacher, nurse against patient, but solidarity doesn't speak the language of division. Solidarity doesn't care what color your collar is. When your hands are calloused just the same, solidarity is gospel, brothers and sisters. And the gospel says an injury to one is an injury to all. The gospel says you touch one, you fight us all. The gospel says from every port, every factory, every school, every field, we rise together or not at all. I ask you, brothers and sisters, are you ready to lock arms again? Yes. To shoot down injustice. All right. To know when to walk off to a better world. Yes. This isn't nostalgia. This is a torch carried from 1934 to today. Pass the torch in remembrance, brothers and sisters, in memory, in might, for every soul who dared to say no, so that we could one day say yes to fair wages, say yes to dignity, say yes to the unbreakable union of the working class, say yes to the ILWU. Yes. Thank you.
Come on back out here. Come on back out here. Come on back out here. Come on back out here.